How was your first race? Were you good? Did you do good? Don't tell me you won.
No, I got smoked. I was on a JR50 and I got worked. All my competitors were on the badass PW50 back then. So yeah, I was on the little jalopy JR50.
It's a little like Suzuki, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what Jimmy Johnson rode. That was his first bike. It looked like Roger DeCoster's, but miniature.
Real miniature,
Miniature, yeah.
You would probably sit right here next to me. It's tiny.
So we go to Lake Elsinore, and so I sat in staging and breathing two-stroke fuel, and everyone's running, Blenzol and stuff like that. So I'm high as a kite. And so I go out there and I'm racing and I'm getting my ass kicked. And as I'm going up the hill, I'm thinking I don't want to get last. And this is a true story. I'm not making this up. I'm going up the hill, and I'm going, and I see this guy, and he comes to pass me, and then I get by him again. And then, you're going up there and you hear the echo off the walls and stuff, and next lap there, next lap there, next lap there. So it's the last lap, I get the white flag, I'm going up the hill, I see him, he's going to pass me, and I just go, I can't let him pass me. I don't want to get last. So I go way too deep into the corner, I go up the thing, go bank off the thing, come back down, I'm looking to the inside, where is this guy? Where is this guy? And as I'm coming back around, I look over, and no shit, I've been racing my shadow the whole night, because as I would pass the light, the shadow would come up and then it would fade back. So I was racing my shadow all night long, but I did win. So I beat my shadow. So yes, that was the big goal. And no shit, that's kind of been my theme through my whole career. Even when I was at the top of my game, it was racing my shadow, because if you've been the dominant guy on the track, you know what I mean? When you got to find the motivation just to go fast and go faster, then you're having a good day.
So what was this, like 1970?
Yeah, 1975.
Okay.
So 1975, and then at the age of 12, we didn't like the politics. We couldn't afford it to travel around, and my dad's Brock Glover let me practice on one of his bikes. So I was 12 and I got on a 125 and I just had a blast. Do you remember the first time you rode a big bike? Well, it's you don't feel every hole. Mm-hmm. You're like, this is so bitchin'. Head shake scares the shit out of you. But, yeah. But still, it's like lower the bars down and you could jump stuff and you have power. And so my dad told me straight up, he goes, we can't afford to race 80s and 125s, so you got to pick. Like, sell those things. So at 12, I started riding 125s, and in 3 months, I earned my pro card. And so to the date, I was still I just turned 13, still the youngest to earn pro. And so couldn't ride nationals, but you go to Saddleback and Indian Dunes and Carlsbad, and it was a freaking national anyways. You go in off season, it's like going to Glen Helen on Thursdays on national time. If you want to check,
even more so, actually. Yeah.
So I got to race against Barnett and Glover and Hanna and all these different guys and stacked myself up for a couple of years before I actually went into the nationals. I watch a lot of guys ride and stuff, and I'm like, man, I'd like to look through their eyes and feel how that feels. Like when you watch Ayrton Senna drive, or Jimmy Johnson drive a stock car now sliding at 200 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. And James Stewart was that way. I see him do when he was on a 125, I think.
Yeah.
He was so impressive. When he first got on the 250.
He was impressive on a 60, man.
Yeah.
On a 50.
Yeah.
I mean, I raced him from 50s on, and he had that same aggression all the way through, where it was just like, he never was off his mark coming through. And I think getting into those later years, and as you know, when you get older, that magic kind of dissipates a little bit, where you can't really get away with everything that you've gotten away with, Well,
you're supposed to learn. A safe racer is an old racer is a slow racer.
Yep.
You know why? Because when you make a mistake, that your Rolodex is so thick of bad shit that's happened, you go, oh, don't do that, you know. But you did it 3 times, you just go, I'll just close my eyes and pin it. And then you win the race and you're a hero. And you're like sitting there going, man, that was the dumbest thing I've ever done. Now I'm getting praised for it,
Yep.
So crazy, racing's a ballsy deal.
Tell me how you ended up on Factory Honda. How did that all come to fruition?
2-step process. At the end of 1982, which was probably one of the most devastating. There's that one jump that you regret.
Yeah, I think that's for all of us, right?
Yeah, we all have a bunch of them, but this was my one major. I went in with a 20-point lead in '82, and And I was like, I'm gonna win like a champion. You know, I'm not gonna get 2 fists. I haven't gotten 5th all year long except when I broke a spring. I'm gonna win. So I go out there, and Kenny Keelan is on a factory Honda, and I'm trying to get by him, and I just go, screw it, I'm just gonna launch. So I had those Z-spoke Yamaha, blew the front wheel apart, endoed, pushed the bike around half a lap, they changed the wheel, got back to 21st, 0 points. Oh. So now I have to win the next moto. Donnie needs to get 3rd, Brock Glover has the ride of his life. He takes off, and I'm like, but where are you going? I need your help. So Donnie's just following me. So I'd let him by, and I literally tried to break his legs. I would try to run him off the track. I tried to do everything. And I'm cussing at him and telling him, he's just looking at me and just shaking his head. So this was back when they have 45-minute motos. I was literally, I cried the whole race. Just I've thrown it away, and so I lost the championship by 2 points. So Donnie just followed me, and I got 2nd, he got 3rd, and lost the championship.
To Donnie, right?
To Donnie Hansen, yeah. And then later that year, he goes to Donations and crashes and hurts himself and gets all messed up. Well, Honda, I tested their bike, and it was so good. That 82 Works bike.
And that was a real Works bike back then.
That was a real, the low deal, the low fuel with the fuel pump and all the different stuff. And I don't know, it didn't have the fuel pump then, but it had the low tank and everything, really bitching. And the thing was unbelievably fast, but I wanted to stay loyal to Yamaha, so I stayed with Yamaha. And then sure enough, in 1984, Yamaha came to us and said, well, we don't have the money to make Works bikes, so we're going to go into production bikes. And so then they said to Brock, Kenny Clark had Brock and I in the office. He's like, well, 1 of 2 things. We can either buy you out of your contract or we'll go to production bikes. And I'm just over in the corner going, please buy me out of my contract, please. Because I had 2 more years of my contract, so I'm thinking, that's going to be a good contract. I'll put a lot of money away. I can go buy a house.
Yeah.
And then I can go sign with another company. But that didn't happen. So I rode with them, and then 85 we really struggled, and there was parts out there that would help us, like Olean's made an upside down fork that worked really well. They wouldn't let us use it, so we used the Simon anti-cav kits, which you wouldn't even know what those were. They're just like anti-cavitation kit addition to the inside. Simons was a really smart guy, but he was limited on what he could do. And so I was going to sign with Kawasaki. So Roy Turner had
for 85 then, or 84?
No, I was going to sign for him in 86. So
or 86,
I tested in 85. Loved the bikes. Wardy and I got along really good. We grew up together. And then they hired Lachine. And Lachine had this situation with the pot in Japan and all that different stuff. Well, they signed Lachine. And so I was like, oh, well, I'm going to sign with Yamaha. It was like on a Tuesday. I might maybe off a day or whatever. Tuesday, I'm supposed to go up and sign my contract. Well, Tuesday morning, I get a call from Roger DeCoster. Hey, RJ, because I had been on Donations team in 84, so I'd worked with Roger before, and we talked, and we're cordial with each other, and I obviously had a massive amount of respect for him. He's the man. But he said, hey, would you consider riding for us? I'm like, yeah, but I want to try the bike. Well,
this is a Works Honda too,
this
right?
was the best Works Honda 85, even though really knew that we were going to go to production bikes the next year. I still wanted to see how good the bike was. And so I said, oh, can you meet me today? And he said, yeah. So then they put the stuff together. They met me down by Carlsbad, a place we call it not the Flower Track, but another place off of in La Costa. They showed up. I showed up. I called Yamaha, said, no, I'm not feeling good. I'm not going to come up today. I lied. Sorry, Yamaha. I lied.
It happens.
It happens. But so I'm like, well, I want to see. I just want to know, and rode the bike. And all I did is adjust the handlebars. It was Ronnie Lachine's bike. I adjusted the handlebars, rolled them back a little bit or rolled them up a little bit. I can't remember. And then they set the ride height. And I went out, and I rode hard on my bikes, my practice bikes, and I was fast on them. And I was literally 4 seconds a lap faster.
Wow.
And I would hit bumps, and I'm like, and I would use the whole travel because I just had to make my stuff really stiff and rigid so I could take the beating.
So it wouldn't break your wrist and bottom out. And,
right, so you could hammer stuff. And I got on that, and I'm like, holy cow. And I made some changes. Tano was the head Showa guy. We made some changes. I'm like, the adjustability, and he said he made a shock just from watching me ride. He goes, I like his style and this, and I know what I want for him. And to have that, I'm like, I'll sign. So I signed for, was $125,000 a year. That was $50,000 less than Yamaha was offering me. Very incentive based. Also made it. I was running with Fox, and Pete Fox and I had a pretty close relationship. He was a really young guy. Drew stuff out of pencils. He was. I think he was still in high school.
Yeah.
And so he flew down, and I was like, get a rental car. He's like, I can't. I'm 15. You know. And so we did a lot of cool stuff, and he changed a lot of the gear styles and whatever. He's like, try this. I'm like, okay. You know, everything from go sit on this rock naked with a boot. All right.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, so it was a pretty good relationship that we could to go back and forth. But what I loved about Honda, and I was talking to Tom White about this, or Tom Webb, and they gave me the ability to change, which, you know, at factories, man, this is our bike, this is what we do, don't touch it.
Real rigid. Yeah.
Right. And so I would come up to, not Canyon Country, but Simi Valley at the Honda Land track there. And it was like supersized, and I was always uncomfortable on it, and Bailey and Omar would kick my ass. I mean,
they were dialed in there.
It's ridiculous. I mean, Johnny would back up and his tires would hit the same place and unload his bike, and everything was just absolutely perfect. But I was a little more sloppy when it came to, I want to run one line one way, one line the other way, but then everyone's looking at lap times and look, you're 2 seconds off of them. And so I wanted to get down to my track and do my own thing, and the Works Honda bike was so fast, but the power would go like brrrr, and it would hit so hard up high. And as you know, trying to do Supercross, it's all in the crack of the throttle, you know, and that's the crack of the throttle and the blip of the clutch, which is non-existent now. If you're doing the clutch now, you're stopping the bike from going forward.
Yeah.
There it was to encourage it, but the problem is it would hit so hard, I would either over jump or under jump. So I wanted something that I could really roll it on, and I started working with Mitch Payton at Pro Circuit. I said, I'm not telling Honda, Mitch, but I want to come build a pipe. So Mitch came down with his van, a gas welder, and like 5 pipes, and a hacksaw. So I tried this, he would cut a pipe, he would weld it, I would go try that, like this, he would do that. I didn't know what he was doing, but I would just tell him in the power band what I wanted, and he would go, okay, grab that pipe. Well, I like the bottom of this pipe, I like the top of this pipe, and so we came up with what was the Pro Circuit pipe, and then we took it to Johnny and David and said, try it. So whenever it was a hard, slick Supercross track like Anaheim, San Diego, we would run that. When we go to Daytona, Atlanta, Seattle, where it's really loamy, where like you're talking about now, today's motocross tracks, where you want a lot of horsepower. We ran the Works pipe. So Honda gave me the ability to change and do that. And Mitch Payton always said to me, you know, I can't pay you, but I'll take care of you forever. So still to this day, I take my bikes over there and have to remind him a little bit because he's on a different level now. You're still fixing my shit for free.
Right.
so Bones is always awesome, always takes care of my stuff, and Mitch always does that. But that's how it went. And to have Honda, there's a reason why they were the best.
All right, so let's go back to the dynamic of when you get signed by Honda, right? And basically you had David Bailey and Johnny O were like the guys there. And it kind of sounded like, because I used to work with David Bailey, and I remember him telling me back then, they almost got too obsessed with the fitness side of things. Like he would sit there
100%.
And the guys at Honda would say, you know, Johnny and David, are you guys training to be like triathletes or motocrossers? Because, you know, you guys got to kind of pick what you're going to be doing here. And you'd mentioned that you went out and cycled with them and basically got crushed, right?
Right, completely.
But then when you go to the motocross track and say if they, you know, you brought them down to your, you know, El Cajon area, the playing field would level out, I'm assuming, where it was like, wait a minute, you know, this guy Rick really has his shit together on the motocross bike. He might not be able to go 150 miles on a freaking
right.
a cycle ride and then go do, you know, 25 laps in the pool and all the shit that we're doing.
Right.
But this guy can ride a dirt bike, and that's what we're doing.
Right.
How was that dynamic for you?
Well, for them, I think what hurt them is they did so much long distance stuff. And Johnny, I think, has said this, is that when you do that much endurance, you lose testosterone. And I didn't know any better. I just had a simple philosophy that if I have to race 30 minutes, or back then 45 minutes, then I'm gonna go 50 minutes as fast as I can go. I'm just gonna blow up and see where I blow up, and then I need to go faster, because I would watch these triathlon guys like Scott Tinley and Mark Allen and stuff like that. And I would talk to them. They go damn near anaerobic all day. I'm like, how can a human being be that strong? And I'm pacing myself for a 45-minute moto. This is bullshit. I'm just a puss. So what I have to do is I have to learn how to get comfortable at that painful state. You know, you're talking about when y'all say, it's burning, then that lactic acid happens, you're going anaerobic. And you're very limited time there. But if you learn to survive it, and then you can keep going. And then my goal was go 100% from the get-go and make you quit.
So you raised the intensity.
I raised the intensity quite a bit, because David and Johnny, if you waited, I would still be waiting for them to make a mistake. If I tried to follow them and go, I'll just wait for them to make a mistake and then I'll pounce. They didn't. They didn't make mistakes. Their style was impeccable. I would have to take the rougher lines. I would have to jump further. I would have to do other shit to beat them, and it worked. But they still beat me quite a bit. But that's how I had to raise my game. And those guys, what's funny is they never came to my track.
No, they never did.
Never once. And the invitation was there, but that was Brock and I had a partner. We paid $30,000 to build a supercross track. Back then was a lot of money.
Yeah. Oh.
And still
that's a lot of money this day.
Now it's really a lot, because I'm not making much money. So
holy shit.
Like that, I'm like, hold on a second. I have to have a moment here. $30,000, shit.
$30,000, what, 85? Jeez.
Yeah, 85, 86.
That's a little excessive.
But yeah, they never came down, because they had their own package and stuff like that.
So they stayed at Honda Land and did their thing, or wherever.
Right.
And David would go back to Virginia and do his
they
thing.
would work together and do their stuff, but we went back and forth, and I loved the dynamic. Like I never hated David. You know, I never hated Wardy. I never hated anybody, but I would just get fueled and just want to beat them so bad, not hurt them, not take them out, unless like Lachine and I came close to killing each other on the track. Really stupid, chopping each other hard.
You guys grew up in the same area, so I'm sure you guys kind of butted heads coming through the ranks or whatever.
And it all happened over a girl.
It's always over a girl.
And what's funny is we weren't fighting over the same girl. It's just I was going out with a girl at the time, and Ronnie got suckered into telling her what we boys did on the road.
That didn't go over too well.
No, I wanted to kill him. I was just like, what are you bro code, dude? Bro code.
You just broke it.
Yeah, you smashed it. And we're friends now. We've grown over it. We're not with either of those girls anymore. We squashed the beef. We're friends. I dig the dogger. He digs me, and I get maximum at a discount. So we're all good. But yeah, so it was having David, and it was hard because I came in and we went 1, 2, 3 in Supercross and 250 and 500. So they had this thing, but Johnny was the third guy. So Johnny was there the longest. And then I come in, I strip the pot, and then we go to do the Motocross of Nations in '86. And Johnny tells David that day, I got fired.
Yeah.
So now there's really kind of a divided camp. And we worked together and stuff because we knew we wanted to win as a team. But I felt it. You know, I felt the stress and I felt the different stuff. And Johnny, man, he chased me in the first moto. Like, we're miles. We're gone. I mean, we're so far in front. And that son of a bitch is just, you know, he's
you
just
could hear him.
so fast, you know, on the 125, it's just flying. I'm thinking, Johnny, I'm not going to let you beat me, but could you just back off? You know, let me rest. Nope, just hounds me. We get 1-2. The next moto, Thorpe had the front brake issue, whatever the situation may be. Johnny, phenomenal, flying past Thorpe.
That was 125, 500, right?
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly. And so when we had our team strategy there, because in the my race, I started up front, and then Johnny started in the back, and he got a great start. And then in the 500, I started up front, lined over a little bit, and then as soon as I took off, I started working the guys out, and David just launched up the inside.
He was behind you, right?
And he had the whole shot. So he was rolling. It was actually a better starting spot because I was on the gate, but still, I knew David was going to. So he smoked us. And then obviously we had a stellar day. We won everything.
It'll never be repeated, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
I just watched it actually recently, and I honestly I'd heard stories about that day. And I sat down and watched the video that Gary Bailey had put out there.
Yeah.
And it was impressive. It's interesting to hear the dynamic, though, of what happened with Johnny, how,
Yeah.
you know, the motivation was a little bit deeper than just going there to win the race.
He wanted to beat me.
He wanted to beat you, yeah.
Right, and I don't blame him. That's his job, you know. And he wanted to show Honda, you screwed up and you fired the wrong guy.
Exactly.
And I'm like, no, Honda, you didn't screw up. You didn't hire the wrong guy. But that's our ego. If we don't have that attitude and want to beat somebody bad, why are we there? So we sweep the event. David's gone in the 500 race, and I'm trying to pass Thorpe, and I do finally get by him. I get second, and David, we joked about it. We said, wouldn't it be cool if we could get 1-2 in every race? And then Johnny does it. Now I'm like, shit, now I have to. You know, I mean, if the 125 beat Thorpe was the 500 world champion, I have to beat him. So
yeah.
I get by Thorpe and I get away from him, and then David waits up for me. And so the last lap we're doing, you know, whips and one-leggers, really rad shit back then. Cross-ups.
Cross-up, of course.
Elbows up, elbows down, whatever. Turn down, you know. But we did that, and then coming around, so the last, you came around and it had a hard right, a 180 left, and a rut. And so I went out wide, and then I was going to, you know, come across with David across the line together. And knowing that he won, I wasn't trying to take anything away from him, but I go to cut across, and he's going to let me go wide, so he brake checks me, donk, and I fall down. So the last turn, I'm on the ground. I'm like, really? You brake check me in front of everybody? So I pick my bike up, and as we go across I pick my bike up and I'm going, and I'm on the left side, I'm on his right side, and I go across and I grab his hand, and that's the picture that we have of me holding his hand up and raising his hand.
Yep.
Well, I don't know if it was Gary Bailey or somebody said to him, you better make sure, because he grabbed your hand and pulled off the throttle so he could cross the line first. And, you know, Dave and I joked about it and stuff like that. I was very clear. He kicked my ass. I mean, he smoked me. I mean, he was on fire. And then the tragedy happened with him. I had the race up at Atlanta. I know you've been there 1,000 times.
Yep.
It was a Golden State race in '87, and David wasn't there, but I was, because I had to get my ankle operated on. I'd torn some ligaments and I had some bone spurs and stuff, so I had to go in. I found one guy, Furkel, up in Van Nuys that would scope it. So the only time he could do it was right after the Golden State, so I was going to miss the second 2 rounds of the Golden State. So I get in that fist fight with Ronnie Lasheen. I punch him in the face and then almost get thrown in jail because he brake checked me the last. You didn't hear about that?
No, yeah, take me back to that story.
So it's really muddy. Lasheen's way out in front. He's wearing an open face helmet. And I catch up to him in the last lap, and he's going to win, but I'm still just going to push, you know. And so we're coming into a race, he looks back and he brake checks me. Well, my brakes were kind of already gone from the sand, you know, like the really gritty sand. So I had no brakes, so I'd slow down, but it wouldn't stop. So I see him and I almost blow my knee, so I lose my cool. Because he and I, like I said, had our issues and went back and forth and back and forth. So after the thing, I reach up to try to slap him in the face to grab a hold of his helmet, and then I'm on the side of a hill, so I'm like, uh-oh. So I fall down. So now I'm embarrassed because I just got thrown on the ground, and I'm mad. I come up to him and I'm screaming at him, you know, why you got to F with me? You had the raise, and he's like, gave me that what? So I punched him in the mouth. And I cut his lip open, and I wanted him to fight, but he just rode off. And so I rode next to him and cussed at him and stuff like that. Then I went back to my truck, and I knew one of the cops up there because I go test up there, and he come watch us. And he comes up and he goes, hey, I might have to arrest you. And I'm like, for what? He goes, for assault. He's talking about pressing charges. And so then I become stupid and try to be tough guy and tell him, you tell him if I sit in jail, it's like, I can't hear anything that you're saying right now because you're gonna incriminate yourself. And so I went down, tried to apologize to Ronnie. He closed himself in the truck, flipped me off, and this and that. And then I went. He did have me arrested.
So you got arrested?
I didn't get arrested.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
And I've still never been arrested. I am proud of that. Not proud of not graduating high school, but I am proud that I haven't been arrested yet. I have to say that because that could happen. And then the following week, I went and had my ankle surgery. I was up in Idaho with Hook Taylor, Rich Taylor's dad. And at the time, the person I was dating called me crying. He said, David's been paralyzed. And it was just, like even now, it still just sends chills through my body because I'm like, it can't be. I mean, David doesn't make a mistake. David doesn't crash. David.
Too solid, yeah.
Yeah, you could set your watch on him, and your watch is fast. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was just like, I was like, holy shit, you know, what happened? And not to take anything away from Wardy or Brock or O'Mara or anybody, but David was the guy that really sparked me because he was so smooth and so calculated. I was more sloppy and outside and case shit, and he was always smooth. And then if you watch the Anaheim race, he sucks me up that way. You know, I'm sloppy, he's not, and he beat me. So when he got hurt, it was like, wow, now what? So they got rid of O'Mara.
Yeah.
They got rid of, now David's gone. Now it's all on me. You know,
so you were like the stand-in guy now.
Right. So then there was Mickey Diamond was there, who was 125 guy and stuff like that. But I was the guy. So yeah,
the pressure was on big time.
Yeah, and you had to you couldn't make a mistake. So I had to get my starts right. I had to do all the different stuff. But I did some stuff to screw with Wardy. Is he had a starting block, and so I had the guy at Honda make me a bitch. And starting block had a titanium, all the different stuff. I ran it once, and they outlawed starting blocks, which that's what I wanted them to do anyways.
Oh, to kind of even it out a little bit. Sorry, Wardy.
No, I just wanted to get rid of his.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I didn't need one. I could use a little bit of dirt, but then he would stack his dirt. He'd reinvent himself. Then they had the radios that, do you remember, did you hear about that?
Yeah, inside the actual helmet, right?
Yeah, they had
was that in
radios in the
87
helmet.
you guys did that?
He had that. Well,
Okay.
we ran it at Donations in 87, but he had it and Ronnie had it. And it was crazy because, you know, in Supercross, when you got to jump, you don't do, and you wait. And so there was like the triple at Seattle. So I was like, I had a line way up the left side because it'd get all rutted out.
Yeah,
I'm like,
nasty.
I'm just going to wait till the last lap. And I'll be a son of a bitch. I go around, I jump the thing, and all of a sudden, Ronnie Lachine's going for the checker flag, hits the brake, turns, cuts the track because Roy Turner's in his ear, goes, Johnson just jumped the triple on the left side. Turned the track, jumped it. I'm like, damn it.
No way.
Right, and then I had races with War where I'm trying to pass him, and he had eyes in the back of his head. So it's a good thing that they outlawed radios in Supercross for sure.
It took out the excitement a little bit, it kind of sounds like.
Well, I had to double juke him.
Yeah.
I had to go fake left, go right, fake back right, you know.
You're like, how do I do this?
Yeah, and when you have somebody constantly, because on a bike, if you're looking back, you're taking time away.
Yeah.
But if you just know he's coming down, he's looking up the inside, you just start to fade. Or he's coming around the outside, you fade up and shove him off the outside of the berm.
So it was almost an advantage for second, third, fourth, fifth, not the first place guy. He was kind of screwed in a sense because he didn't have those, you know, exactly.
So that's
radio communication.
so they outlawed it, but they let us use it in 87 Donations.
Okay, so take me to that fateful day, end of your career. Or actually, it wasn't the end of your career. You were only 26 years old when you got landed on, going in 1989, right?
1989. I had tore up my knee up at Kenny Roberts, so I didn't get to practice that much. And Jeff Stanton was on the team, and so I was actually kind of.
Stanton actually, he just hopped on. He just got hired by Honda, right?
Right, and what I'm proud of is that they didn't want him. They said, he's an outdoor guy, he's not that fast. He was kind of a fat country boy at the time. But I'd go back and stay at his houses during the 500 Nationals, and Jeff was unbelievably committed. He just didn't know any better when it came to diet and stuff like that. And I said, he's good. He's really good. He's really fast. He was riding that Yamaha 465 Pile or 490 or whatever it was.
Yamaha swap, right?
Exactly.
They dubbed it.
Ding, 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 ding. Things was pinged really bad and all that. But so he came and lived with me and stayed with me and was did phenomenal. And so I'd won the first, I think, 5 races, then got a second in Atlanta. I fell down once, and then he went off the track once, and then he won, and then the next weekend at Gainesville, he was following me, and we came up on Danny Storbeck, and Danny didn't mean to land on me. I never felt that. I was just upset with him because he never like said, "Hey, it was your fault, but I'm sorry that it blew your hand off your arm," basically, and never got that. But so I came around, and there was they were running Gainesville backwards, and so they had this one place where the trees, everyone kind of knows where it's at by the road, and I passed Danny, and I scrubbed it. I went around the outside, I scrubbed it, and we did scrub back there.
You guys did. I seen your scrubs.
And so I used the back brake and stay a little low. And then Danny just blitzed it. Not like I said, not trying to jump on me, and so I scrubbed it. And then I thought I had him cleared. As I started to come over, my wrist was, I thought, twisting the throttle wide open, and his front wheel hit me in the back of the arm, and it took my hand and threw it up here, broke it and dislocated it.
So your wrist was completely dislocated.
Oh, it was like sitting off to this. It was a compound. I did see one worse this week, where like just two raw ends, and I looked down. I knew.
You knew you were fucked.
I was screwed. I was gonna have trouble, and so I took my goggles off, yelled at him, "What the fuck are you thinking?" Blah blah. And then he told somebody, I thought I was gonna have to hit him. I'm like, well, what am I gonna do? Hit you with a limp wrist? It's not limp anymore. It won't go anywhere. But, and then Jeff Stanton saw the whole thing, and I said, "Pick up my bike." I'm screaming at everybody, because I got a little bit knocked silly a little bit. I'm like, "Start my fucking bike, I want out of here, blah, blah." And so he starts my bike, hands me my bike, and I'm like, I can't, because I think I'm moving my hand like this, and it's just jerking off to the side. I'm just like, he goes, get on my bike. So Stanton, in the middle of his practice, stopped his practice, rode me back to the truck, and that was the beginning of the end. I came back the next year, I won that race, then in Daytona, crashed, broke my hand, then I fell in Millville, separated some ribs and broke some ribs, and tried to come back.
Were you having issues holding on to the bike? I'm assuming
I could. It would go. And I started taking NSAID, which was like the big super, I'm like, oh man, I can get strength and anti-inflammatory, but it ate my guts out. And so later on in life, I had to go back. They thought I had Crohn's disease because I had ulcers. Intestines, and I had scopes going up my ass, down my throat, and they're cauterizing and burning shit out of me. And but made it through that. So a lot of it was just through the grace of God, said, well, I'm going to change your path, but I'm going to still give you some blessings that might not look like blessings, but later on they will be. And then from there, I just made the transition into trucks.
But you from 89 to 91, right? That's when you ultimately decided, okay. So you had a good few years there where you struggled trying to make, a full recovery, but it just wasn't going to happen.
Right, and it wasn't. So I went to doctors in Italy, France, Idaho, LA, Florida, and all of them said, just fuse it. You're done.
And did you end up fusing the rest?
They ended up doing a partial fusion. So 20 years ago.
That's what you got now?
Right, that's what I got now. And so now they have to go in and reattach this. I just had that thumb done because I blew that joint out. They took the trapezius out and put a piece of cadaver in there, and they put a little Kevlar strap. Now they're going to re-strap that down so that stays in. They're going to open that up.
So you got a floater right now as we speak,
exactly.
Basically.
My thumb kind of floats out and wants to dislocate a little bit. And so I got to get a couple more things, and after I go to Australia and do an adventure bike ride, tape it up and take some Advil or ibuprofen for 5 days.
Oh shit, man.
We'll get it cut on again.
All right, so then 91, basically you still had the itch to go out and compete. So that's when you kind of started looking, well, what other avenues can I explore? And you ultimately decided trophy truck was where you wanted to go, or how did that all come?
Well, I watched Robbie Gordon go from an off-road guy to was racing GTP cars, or not GTP, GTO and Trans Am and stuff like that. And I thought, well, no one's going to give me a shot going right from dirt bikes to that. So if I could get into stadium trucks, and I could do that. So I called Chevrolet, got a test, got a ride for them, started doing stadium trucks, and then tried to do the same thing, try to follow that same path. But the stadium truck thing went away. They went towards Craftsman truck. I did some Craftsman truck. I did good in road course, but I didn't have much success in oval because I didn't do much of it. Mm-hmm. So I got labeled as a road course guy. So my short course career, or my oval track career was done. During that time, I worked for the Petty School and learned quite a bit about teaching people and stuff, and was doing some TV stuff with Larry Myers, Arena Cross and stuff. So my journey has always just kind of been this eclectic deal, and honestly, it's been awesome because I don't want to know what my destiny is. At first, I thought when I first became a Christian, I was just like, man, if I could ask God one question, what's my destiny so I don't waste time? And then I learned very quick, you're not supposed to know.
No.
You know, is this the beginning of your TV career? Is this, am I supposed to be a truck racer? Am I supposed to be this, work with special forces? What is the one thing that I'm supposed to do? And we don't need to know that.
No, that's the exciting part about being here, right?
Exactly. That's
the unknown.
Right. So I've gotten to race trophy trucks. I've gotten to race Pikes Peak. I've gotten to race Craftsman truck. I've got to travel around the world with the Petty School doing that kind of stuff. I've got to work with some of the greatest American soldiers and Navy and Army and British and all the different stuff. So it's
Can we explore into that a little bit?
Yeah.
What exactly were you doing there? I heard about that, actually. I'm kind of interested in what exactly
how
that
it started
entailed.
was a friend of mine named Rob Latham, who is probably one of the fastest shooters ever. You know, when they hit the button, he shoots, reloads, and shoots, and so he trains some special ops or special forces guys. When I was back before 9/11 and stuff like that, I'm like, I'd really like to help these guys, you know, because you heard about Navy SEALs, and then you see the different movies that were coming out. He says, well, I work with a certain branch of them, let me introduce you. So that was over 10 years ago. They introduced me. I did a motorcycle riding class with them, and then I met another guy when I was back there. So then they had me come back to North Carolina to work with them. I met another guy who's now my partner, Jeff Benrud, who's raced the Ball 1000 solo the past 2 years, and he's just a complete stud.
Wow.
And started doing bikes, then cars, then side by side, and then now we do some training for SOCOM, which is Special Ops Command. And so it's bitching because I'm showing these guys, and it doesn't matter. I'll get a guy that's a complete beginner, or a guy like Jeff who raced, you know, intermediate to lower level pro, and help them. Because it's cool when you can help somebody ride, because they're like a kid. Doesn't matter how. I mean, these guys are the most sophisticated killers in the world, and they've seen some of the dirtiest shit that you can ever imagine. But now I take them and I put them on a motorcycle. It's just like you were talking about your little Suzuki 50. Remember how you felt like just such a big man?
Oh, yeah.
Like everybody's watching me, and I'm just I'm doing my thing. And you're like, man, I'm getting this big air and stuff. When you hear these guys that are so versed in their life and everything that they do, and they're the best at what they do. And you give them a little piece of your world, and you just hear the excitement. And it reminds me of when I was a kid, like, you know, telling your dad, did you see that? Yep. I did this jump, and I had to be this high, and you're this high.
Yeah, maybe an inch or two.
But you still, you know what I mean? And that's the thing that I get the most out of, is showing these guys and giving something back to people that literally run to danger.
Yeah.
To make it so that you and I can sit
Do
here
what we're
and drink
doing here.
Red Bull and 805 and, you know, on a beautiful
Exactly.
day and live our lives. So that's the thing. It's a great job for me, but I don't look at it as a job. I make a bunch of friends.
So motocross, supercross, riding dirt bikes, it's all pretty much about getting together with your buddies, having a good time, shooting the shit.
Right.
How has it been for you, man? I mean,
Well, that's the thing, is that I find that motorcycles have touched every aspect of my life. You know, we have a loose group of guys called the Heaven's Devils, and we all have tattoos, and it's I think one of the latest guys, but it's a bunch of Hollywood dudes and stuff that I grew up with, and they were up here, I was down south. And it's got a Celtic knot, which is in a cross, which I resemble as my faith in Christ. It's got flames, which I say that's my desire. It's got a halo. I say that's my little bit of goodness. And then it's got, theirs was a circle. I made it a motocross tire. And I put that there because the motorcycle touches every aspect of my life. And I find that the guys that it's funny, you don't talk to your guys when you go ride. You go ride, and then you maybe bench race a little bit in between, but you're out doing your own thing. But you have this common bond. And I found that motorcycle friends are the best friends and friends for life. Even though you're fist fighting with them one day, like Ronnie Lachine or whatever, and you're pissed off and they're making you sick to your stomach because you want to beat them, but you know that they're like your brother, or like your sister. I can call her a bitch, but you can't call her a bitch. Nobody else can. So nobody can mess with my friends, but I'm willing to battle them. And just the heritage of it. Because I think, as I said, when you're a kid, you know, I have this painting of a kid on a bicycle, and then behind him is the shadow of the Steve McQueen Great Escape, of the bike going over there. And so that shadow is his mind of what he thinks it is. And so when I was a little kid riding a bike, I thought I was Roger DeCoster. I thought I was Joel Robert. I thought I was J.N. Roberts. I thought I was Malcolm Smith. I thought, you know, my daydreaming all the time. Mm-hmm. But then now fast forward 40 years, I'm in the 50-plus class riding with some friends of mine down in Baja, and I'm riding, and if you looked at that shadow, you see that little kid, you know, here's a 50-year-old broke, fused wrist, washed up supercross guy. But what motorcycles do is they transcend me back to I'm a kid again. Even though my body hurts and stuff, I just bet you when you hit a jump right, it could be something stupid as like some sand whoops, and you kind of wheel tap a couple, then jump 3, and then you butter it down the backside. Yep. That never gets old. I think it's like why people get hooked on fishing or gambling or whatever. They love to hear that ding, 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 or you know. And for me, and I think for you as well, it's that feeling of just being at one with the bike and having fun. And so that never gets old. It gets painful.
It can.
You have some things to look forward to, but as far as hanging out with your buddies and shooting the shit and riding, it's going to be the things that when people are old and, you know, old and on your deathbed, you know, one of the smiles is definitely going to be your times on a bike.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. 100%.